Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Indies. It's January 17th, 2020. And we've got a great show for you. We're going to talk a little bit about writing and how it's going to help people, hopefully in 2021, or, how we view that. And so with the roundtable, and then CL Ken has a great indie connection for you. And right now I have a book review that I did, so enjoy. Wrong video. Thank you for being live. Here we go. I'm sure this has happened to many of us countless times, but it usually happens to me more times than I can remember. And that is the moment that I tell somebody that I've written and published a book, or that I've written a screenplay and made a movie. The very next sentence invariably that comes out of their mouth is, "Oh my God, I have this great idea for a book or movie." And to which I respond, "Oh my God, you should go write it then. You should go write it right now. Go, go, go." Well, today's review that I'm going to do for you is a book that is going to help you with that very, very problem. The book I'm talking about is called Write and Edit the Damn Book, Solutions for the Stressed Out Author by Katie Solitis. Here's the blurb. Writing a book is not simply putting words on the page. Okay, yes, it is literally putting words on the page. But a truly spectacular book is more than just a written stream of consciousness. Crafting a complete and compelling story is work. Hard work. It is late-night fights with uncooperative characters, bouts of crippling imposter syndrome, and the taunting blink of the cursor on the empty page as you struggle to pry those unwilling words from the deepest recesses of your mind. Writing looks a lot easier from the other side of the book. You can armchair quarterback all your favorite novelists, but until you put that butt in the chair and bang out that first draft, you can't truly appreciate the struggle. Stressed out authors, the solution is here. With over 30 published works in her name and years spent providing editing, coaching, and publishing to help other indie authors, Katie Solitis is a veteran of the publishing trenches. She's battled writer's block, faced the firing squad of feedback and reviews, felt the sting of an editor's red pen, and sacrificed more than a few of her favorite words for the greater good of a story. She's been in your shoes and is here to show you with a little tough love, you'll thank her for that later, how to get through it all and finally finish that damn book you've been dreaming of writing. Your readers are waiting. Write and edit that damn book already. Knowing Katie like I know Katie, and some of you who frequent our show know Katie quite well because she's on here all the time, and a lot of you also follow Spilling Ink, which is her show on Saturday nights. You know that she has a way about her that is uniquely Katie. And I think what really comes across to me and why this book works so well is because she's not sugarcoating anything for you, but she's also not yelling at you. She's not telling you you're wrong if you do it this way or that way. What she's telling you is that ultimately how you get this done is up to you, but here's some things you can do if you're in this position or that position. It's well pivoted. It's well structured. And books like this, I've said it countless times, I love reading books about writing because books like this really do spark an idea. You always learn something. And you have to always be learning something in this business. And this book is no exception. There's a lot of great charts, a lot of great reference material that I know ultimately, and I have already in my screenplay writing even, gone back to and thumbed to get an idea. I mean, she's got an emotional chart. She's got body language charts. I mean, there's so many things. She's got formatting, display, and in between that, she's got words that really matter. She gets right to the point. She really structures this book like she was walking you through it step by step, but in a manner where she's not being frustrated, by the learning curve or the, aptitude that it takes to absorb all this, which, makes her a much better person than I will ever be. But that being said, it is such an incredibly well-crafted, thought-out, step-by-step guide on how to get yourself done with the most daunting part of this exercise, of this torture, which is writing the damn book. She goes through a lot of the editing prowess too, some things you can do, some tricks of the trade. And I mean, this is just an expertly crafted book. It's so wonderfully well done. And it's actually very entertaining too, as only Katie Saulides can bring you. I mean, her ability to speak to you in a manner in which you feel like you're talking to your best friend is incredible for a book that is so clinical like this, and so heavy-handed with referencing, which is, not to say that that's a bad thing, being heavy-handed with referencing, because again, this is a book that you'll use more than once. You'll go back to it. You'll realize, oh, you know what? In Katie's book, they have this chart of emotions that I can pull from. And I highly recommend that every person that is getting started, who is getting stuck, who is, you don't have to be a first-time author to really get this book. Like I said, you should always be learning. You should always be finding new ways to help you do this better. And Katie Saulides is going to provide you with that, with write and edit the damn book. Impressive work. So go get it and help yourself out, because it's always time to go indie now, and it's always time to write and edit the damn book. All right. So if you guys want to check out that book, I have the link in the description for everybody. Go get it. You do yourself a favor. And welcome to our roundtable discussion. I am Joe Compton, as you all know, and I've got a great group of people here with me. Some of my favorites I'm really excited to have here. So let's have everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll talk a little bit about motivation. I'll just go down the line here from what I see. So AJ, start us off.
Hi, I'm AJ Mullican. I'm an author, multi-genre author. I write sci-fi dystopian, paranormal romance, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I'm excited to be here. Awesome. On quarantine.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. All right, Mr. J.D. Estrada. You're muted, sir.
Dude, that was such a Zoom pandemic moment. Oh God, I felt like I was at work. It's like, greetings, fellow humans. I am your friendly, scruffy, unmuted JD Estrada. I am a multi-genre author. I hail from Puerto Rico, but I am enjoying this wonderful post-apocalyptic comedy known as 2021 and 2020. From Atlanta, Georgia. I write urban fantasy, poetry, a whole lot of this, a whole lot of that, just like AJ, and enjoying all the wonders of sharing and spending time with wonderful indie authors.
Welcome, sir. All right, Miss Megan Morgan.
I am Megan Morgan. I am the author of The Altered Wake, and hopefully later this year, I will have out my second book, The Altered Rise. I, in general, write sci-fi fantasy, and I'm really happy to be here today.
What a cool picture behind you. That's fantastic. I love that.
My ex-husband put this out on the curb for like the trash, and I walked inside and asked him if I could just take it, and I did, and so now it's mine.
Nice. Awesome. All right, that's awesome. I love that. One man's treasure, right?
Exactly.
All right, Mr. Christopher Myers.
Greeting friends and enemies alike. I am Eric Christopher Myers. I'm the writer and director of the independent films Roulette and Butterfly Kisses. I also write for Ain't It Cool News on the topics of genre theory and franchise history. And like Mr. Compton, I'm sitting here with one of my writing guides.
Yay!
I'm plowing through my latest screenplays, maybe. Thanks for having me back.
A definitive book. It's literally called the Screenwriter's Bible for a reason. And that's the one I use more than I've ever used any book, I think. Agreed.
Well, Eric could defend Sparta with that book. It's huge.
Yeah, this is so incredibly, a lot of people like to read books like Save the Cat, which are, very interesting. We're dealing about themes and narrative and stuff like that. But this is the stuff that a lot of beginner screenwriters don't want to read because it's all about, how to, format your fucking work. It's sort of like first year film students. Nobody wanted to learn the fundamentals of, camera frame rates and stuff like that. Everyone just wanted to go out and make a movie. And it's the same thing with writing. I think that a lot of writers, whatever particular genre you're working in, and whether you're writing, film or for a novel, people just want to plow right in without sort of learning the fundamental mechanics.
And that one is like, it's formatting at 101. It's like, it gives you exactly what you need to do if you're going to submit to Hollywood.
What program do you use when you're writing?
Right now I am online using Writer's Duet, which I really find very nice. I'm really enjoying it. I have Celtic and I have a really old version of Final Draft, but I really don't find Final Draft's kind of pretentious in my personal opinion, but I like Celtic is okay, but it's to transfer over for some reason it's weird, and like the PDF stuff really bothers me with them. But this Writer's Duet thing where it's online and they keep it on their cloud and then you can download it and keep it yourself. I think it's really been easy to like take to like a Word document or to another document and it keeps all the formatting. It's been pretty good. I've enjoyed that. How about you?
I'm using Final Draft because I am pretentious. So I need
Sorry.
I need software that marries to my particular disposition. But without trying to hijack this episode, I think it'd be fantastic to chat sometime about what everyone uses when they write. Because for me, being, I'm very, very story based, obviously, but I'm also very rigid and inflexible when it comes to format, when it comes to structure and all of those things. So I find that, the resource a person uses along with the writing software that they use, it sort of says a lot about, it's like the difference between driving manual and stick. Yeah,
that's very true. And again, not to get off too far off a tangent here in the topic, but what I mean it's pretentious is it's very assumative. It's like a lot like Grammarly. Grammarly likes to put in a comma where a comma doesn't exist, and Final Draft kind of likes to predict a lot of you have to learn how to turn those things off to make it work, and that's always been the tough part for me is like then I have to do work to get it to turn off, and with Grammarly the same thing. It's like stop putting a comma. I don't want a fucking comma. Just leave me alone. All right.
But I think something we could agree on, though, and a lot of non-screenwriters really can't understand this component, because I've been having a lot of conversations lately about the difference between writing for, a book versus writing for a screenplay. They are completely different processes. Yeah. Like, I can't get my brain around how the rest of you all are like determining based on word count the size of your thing. And I'm like, how do you structure it that way? I do it by page count. And at any rate, those are just very, very different ways of approaching the page. And for me, as a screenwriter, I feel like I cannot communicate to somebody who does not do it how much time is spent diverting your attention away from what you're trying to write and your flow, because you're trying to format the damn thing as you're going.
Yeah.
These softwares doing that for you, I mean, it just frees you and allows you to write. It's incredible.
Very true. Very true. Very true. So to pivot to what we're talking about, because this goes along with it. I mean, it's all about process, right? And for us, that's an important element to getting this, getting us going and making sure that we're on the right track and doing the things that we got to do. I found this article, which I've posted the link into the description for everybody to go check out. It was an article that it was very interesting because it was referring to, really was like more like about journaling. It really wasn't about like making a book about it, but it was basically it was talking about how cancer patients have found this solace in being able to write their emotional journey and putting it out on paper or putting it onto a screen and getting all of that out. And I thought that was pretty inspiring in one respect. I mean, the article itself is very flawed in its writing, as our little private chat has been discussing off air about. There's way too many commas in this guy's writing, but that being said, the message is there, and I kind of wanted to, we've talked about how 2020 sucked and how it bogged us down, what we do, how we get past it. And so now we're into 2021. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but it's that moment where hopefully a shift happens and we go forward or whatever. But it's in the meantime, it's getting a game plan together. It's putting something out there and pushing forward. And I was kind of curious from everybody here about their motivation. Well, what are they looking at? Are you turning a corner? Are you pushing forward? And how you feel about your prospect for this year?
Well, I think the year is starting off well, but that's because I've been quarantined and haven't been able to do anything but write. I got COVID right at the beginning of the year from my husband, who got it from his job. I've been quarantined since he started quarantining, so I've been off work for a month. Finished one book 2 or 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Yeah. I'm halfway through the next one. I think creative writing is helping me get through this pandemic. I put out 3 novels last year and a trilogy of novellas and some other things here and there. Also while quarantined or, off work or whatever. And it's getting me through this not being able to go anywhere or do anything thing. Like I'm like a homebody anyway, but when I can't go out, it drives me bonkers. And it's like, I actually, my mom lives next door to us and I had her bring over like a handful of candy because I was like dying for some chocolate and we don't have any in the house. So I think it's been beneficial in a strange way, being able to just sit at the computer and do my thing and not have to worry about, oh God, I got to leave for work in like 10 minutes, or whatever, that's going to change when I'm off quarantine. But oh my God, my cat just stood up like a meerkat. That was hilarious. But yeah, it's like, yeah, he was like looking outside. But anyway, I am having a blast with getting productivity done and feeling like an actual author and not just somebody who does it in the mornings when I can't sleep.
Nice.
It's a pity that you have a headset on, because if not, you would have dropped the mic or something. Because it's like, yeah, I got 3 novels done. For me, 2020 and 2021. 2020 is like, okay, plan C. It's not even plan B. It's like, okay, what are you gonna do? I had several events that got canceled, and what am I gonna do? Cry over spilt milk? Nah. Getting to work on projects that I wanted to finish was impossible. So obviously, new shiny object. Whatever got me through. I started several other projects. Then I did a recap of how many projects I have open for at the end of last year, and it's 25. So my plan and my focus is not only to find the happy and the smiles and whatnot, but to get the thing done. And getting the thing done takes a different type of mindset and organization. Last year, it's like I got invited to contribute to a couple of short story collections, and I was like, then let's run with that. And I when you go from zero to short story to edit it to send to submit to published in a collection, and you realize you did that while navigating all the other turbulent waters, you know that you can do it. And it's not that I'm a magician or anything. It's just that I'm stubborn for the good stuff too. And you have to be stubborn for the good stuff. In terms of the article that you mentioned and creative writing and whatnot, and how it helps people process and different things like that. I've written about that in my nonfiction book, and I refer to that as emotional alchemy. It's taking poop and making gold out of it. From my work, I can give you two examples. The final poem from Roulette of Rhymes is called The Madness of Jonathan J. George. I, at one time, was not having a good time in life. I had issues I had to sort. So I took all of that intense thing that I was living, and I created an 800-line poem that's in 8 movements, 100 lines to every movement. Each one has its own rhyme scheme. And it was just me navigating what I was going through. And then the last couple of chapters of my second novel also, it has that energy because, yeah, again, it was just everything got to be a lot. And if anything, if 2020 was anything, it was a lot. And my recommendation is that if I was able to get through my personal situation, which is very different to what we're all living right now, although we are experiencing it personally and subjectively, it's that writing helped me get through it. Today is January 17th. It's Mom's birthday. She passed away a year and a half ago. But part of what helps me is writing to her. And when I write to her, I do not write in the past tense. I do not write, oh, I miss you and stuff like that. I tell her about stuff that I'm living, stuff that I'm experiencing as if I'm having a conversation. And it helps immensely. And it's something that, I'm going to write more about this and recommend to other people, because even when she was going through cancer treatment, even when things weren't going right, we always raised the glass and said, cheers, Mama Estrada. And that not only helped people process the situation, it helped her look at the positive light in her situation, which is, I think, it's not what we have to do, but I highly recommend.
Yeah, man.
Well, I'm not going to fucking follow that.
You gonna make Megan do it?
Eric, give me the yang. I just gave you the yin. Give me the yang, baby.
Ladies first, please.
I think I've mentioned a few times on the show that I am very much someone who I don't ever do my first draft typed. I always do it on paper. And I also journal a lot, and that is also on paper. And I'm a major proponent of this because there have been a lot of studies that have actually shown that engages your brain in a way that nothing else does. It literally opens up pathways in your mind, and it allows you to create connections that you might not have otherwise. And so, bad commas aside, I completely and totally, agree with this article's suggestion that getting it out on paper can be therapeutic. And I think that a lot of people who write are writing through things. I have utterly failed to do that in the year 2020. I'm working on getting back on track in 2021. But 2020 was a very rough year. I was one of those people who became completely paralyzed by sort of the circumstances. And we're definitely trying to get back on track. But yeah, I think that writing is very good and very therapeutic.
Yeah, I started something in 2020 that I never thought I would ever do, and that is I dream journal, because it was suggested to me because I was having very vivid dreams. It was suggested to me by some friends of mine to write them down, and because you can learn stuff from them, or there's certain things you can take from them, and it actually became the basis for my screenplay that I'm writing. So it I think writing your feelings down can help you in that respect. That's awesome. So.
And especially pen and paper, like pen and paper very specifically, like creates connections that no other method does. And so, yeah, I don't worry too much about formatting in my first drafts because it's just going straight down on paper. And then my second draft is always that transfer from the physical paper, like into the digital format.
Yeah. How about for you, Eric?
Remember way back at the beginning of the pandemic when everybody was on social media saying, if you're not taking advantage of this opportunity to be creative, then you're missing out on this wonderful, blah, 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 blah. And I found that to be particularly smug. I realized that for a lot of people, very emotionally taxing or logistically taxing situations like what we've all just experienced in this past year can allow for a sort of creative super fuel injection. And for other people, all of that energy that would be spent creating is now repurposed just to help survive. And I think that a lot of people found their limits tested in this past year and found all kinds of ways to sort of work through it. And so I have nothing but respect for everyone on this panel and everyone watching and everyone all over the world who was able to be incredibly creative and productive. I think that what AJ did is fantastic. That, she turned that into an opportunity to be to put that product out there and sort of keep her sanity at the same time. For me, just about everything that I was working on in 2020 kind of fell apart. And, filmmaking is a different thing. And a lot of what I was doing as a sort of critical writer, writing about films and whatnot, this entire industry has been turned upside down in a lot of ways. And so it's been very, very hard to work and to enjoy a lot of the things that I enjoyed before. But something else I think we can all agree on is that those of us who are writing or creating because that's who we are, we have to do it irrespective of our circumstances. Perhaps we need to take a nap. Perhaps we need to sit this session out. But we're going to come back to it. And the reason we're going to come back to it is because you don't eat your vegetables and you become very, very weak and you start to miss what vegetables taste like and you feel so much better when you start enjoying them again. And that's been me in the past couple of months, sort of returning to creativity and really finding out that it feels good.
Rebecca wants to compliment you on your hobs behind you.
Thanks, Rebecca. That was a homemade hobs for my son. And
that's homemade?
It is. And speaking of my son, I mean, that's something I wanted to piggyback on what JD was saying. And that is that, we've all had a lot of family situations that have, either occurred or become perhaps recontextualized through the pandemic. I think those of us who have lost people in the recent past, our feelings towards those who are still here have changed. Yeah. A lot of the reason I struggled to be creative in 2020 is that most of my energy was being utilized sort of having to take on additional logistical and emotional responsibilities as the father of a special needs child during a global health crisis. It's been very, very hard. And I agree. I absolutely agree with everything we're talking about, that writing and creating is it's the best medicine that you can have during a time like this. It just can sometimes be hard to work up the energy to open the bottle and take it.
Yeah, it certainly can. And life gets in the way, right? That's always been there, but it especially was more past, last 16, 10, 12 months, whatever you want to. But yeah, I mean, it's been, and emotional tolls, you have to account for that too, and dealing with that. And we all deal with it differently. And, You know, I'm curious. Something in this article that struck me that I highlighted was the idea that passion is what you tap into when you're against the wall. You know, and so I'm kind of curious if you feel like that's where you go when you need to find it. Does it start with the passion of wanting to create, or does it start with a more clinical idea, like, okay, I'm going to sit down and write whatever I write is whatever I write? Or do you start with an idea that you really wanted to always tackle and you know, run through?
I mean, I think both things have to be there. I think you have to have that initial spark, but then you also have to have the habit. I think that, you know, there are a lot of creative people who said that, you know, inspiration will come. Oh, shoot. What famous painter was it? He said, the inspiration will come to you, but it has to find you working. He did all the cubism. Anyway, yeah, you have to have that inspiration for sure. But then I think you also have to have a habit. You, especially during times that are especially challenging, when a lot of different things are pulling at you, you have to have, you know, that self-discipline to go and do it. And even if, like, what I found during last year especially was that even if I wasn't writing, I had to kind of find other ways of doing something creative. And especially at the beginning of the pandemic, I made a whole bunch of hand sewn masks. That was sort of like the thing for a while. And I also made an effort to, you know, get out and do some photography. And those were things that sort of kind of helped me bridge the gap. So yeah, even if one avenue gets shut down for you, you have to find a way to kind of keep opening up others, because I think that creativity is really important for all of us.
And yes, Rebecca, it was Pablo Picasso you were thinking.
Picasso, thank you. I'm terrible at names.
I don't think it always starts with passion. You know, people, if you look at Alanis Morissette, you ought to know it didn't come out of passion. It came out of being pissed off. It came out of, but again, you can live whatever you want, you know, passion, sadness, heartbreak, or whatever. In the end, it's all energy, and you know, creating is a way to channel that energy and just let it go. Because if you keep it bottled up, it's gonna do one of two things: it either fizzles down, or it's gonna take its physical toll on you. Like when you have stress and you don't exercise or do something to release that. We do it creatively. You know, I'm not sure how many calories I burn when I'm writing or when I'm like in complete flow, but I suspect it's higher than 1 or 2. I think, you know, that you know, brain power, you know, burns up energy, and you're like, you know, in the zone, and suddenly you look outside and you're like, shit, it's nighttime, or it's raining, or it's snowing, or something like that, because you get completely lost. And sometimes, and especially these times for me, when I've been able to sit down and write, which hasn't been always, because I've been fortunate to have a very busy year in terms of work, and, you know, and in that sense. But when I've been able to sit down and write and just focus on something that I enjoy and just let stuff go, it for me, it always feels good in some way, shape, or form. You know, sometimes it's a vegetable, sometimes it's a piece of chocolate, sometimes it's a cup of tea. But pleasure comes in many ways, and release comes in many ways as well.
Awesome. How about for you, Mr. Myers? You tend to have a really good structure when you write. So does it start with what you are passionate about to put out there, or do you look at it as more of the structural thing that for you?
I mean, you know, I've talked a lot about being a pantser, in the sense that I have no idea at all where I'm going, but I do have a daily page count, and I do have my 3-act points laid out going, whatever is going on here, once I get there, that's got to happen. And once I get there, that's got to happen, because that's the end of Act 1 and the beginning of Act 2, etc. But I have literally no idea. And I think that there's something very cool about that, in the sense that not only am I able to experience the story the way that hopefully the audience will. You know, the writer doesn't get to ever watch the movie or read the book because they've lived it. And to be able to write and go on that journey every day for however many calendar days I've set for myself becomes that one opportunity for me to experience the work. But it's also, it creates a whole other opportunity, which is, I think that whatever I'm feeling is going to begin to infect the work. It's almost like you open some unconscious valve, and the things that your brain is trying to process either come out in a one-to-one comparison in the story or through metaphor, through symbol. And it becomes a process of me really sort of dealing with and working out, perhaps not resolving, perhaps simply further complicating, but nonetheless working through something that's in my mind and in my heart and affecting my life. In that respect, yeah, I mean, I try not to sit down and say, I'm here to tell a story about this. I sit down and say, I'm going to just start writing a story and see what I end up with and see if it's entertaining at the end. And, oh, cool, I can use it to maybe talk about this thing. But I try not to go in with a mission plan, you know? I think that, again, if we're talking about being creatives and just sitting down to create because it's who we are and what we have to do, the same way we have to breathe and we have to eat and we have to sleep, you know, I think if we're doing that, you know, the muses are taking care of the rest.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. How about for you, AJ?
I'm similar in that I'm mostly a pantser. I mean, I plot out, you know, like he said, you know, the beginning and kind of what's maybe going to happen. But I do have a similar feeling of watching the story in my head, watching it unfold on the page, almost as though I was reading it for the first time in a narrative, as opposed to putting the narrative down. It feels more like I'm reading someone else's book. Or reading something that someone else wrote, because it's all news to me. So I think that aspect of the creative process, or at least my creative process, is part of what makes it so enjoyable. Is that I can lose myself in the story as I'm writing it, because I don't know what's happening until I put it down. So it kind of immerses me, I think, more in the story than if I was planning it, because then I would be more analytical in my mind. And I kind of tend to just bleh, you know, words on paper or on the computer or whatever, and then go with what comes out. And sometimes I'm like, oh, you're going to do that now. Okay, let's go with that. And where are you going with this? Because I don't know. I mean, there are times when I'm writing like something and I'm like, and I'll make a character say, what are we doing now? And I'm like, I don't know. You tell me, because I have no clue.
The level of psychosis that we engage in to get creative, that can be very interesting.
Yeah, and you know, there's a whole other element to, once you get started, how to finish, right? I mean, finishing is part of it too, and that becomes tough sometimes too, because sometimes you have to start and stop. You have to you go back. You start to, especially for us pantsers, things start to pivot on us and change and go different directions. And then I think of something else, and I go back to the beginning of when I was thinking about the something else. And as Eric mentioned, things change and then evolve, and then I'm rewriting the whole process all over again and pushing through like that. And I think in doing that, you know, I lean on my passion for telling this story, because I feel like the story, I don't know, needs to be told is kind of probably a little, you know, high up there, but I want to tell, right? I want to tell it. So I push through any blockage or any you know, pivoting or changing, and it becomes I don't know. It just becomes the process for me, and I lean on passion because of that. Because if I don't have passion for it, and I'm going through all this, I'm going to get bored or I'm going to hate it, and I'm just going to stop and chuck it. And I'm not afraid to chuck things. I've chucked more words. I've mentioned this. And I know everybody out there has their little save files and all that. I just chuck it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, I'm never going to get it to work. So
I like the comment that's down here is if we have a choice about the psychosis, I say we should embrace the psychosis.
No, going back to that, I think that each of us has our own method, and finding our method is the most important thing. A lot of people try to shoe in and force themselves to follow the steps that some people lay out, and it's good to treat it like a buffet. It's like, you know what? I want that, and I'm going to skip that because that's not good. Some people force it, and you see it that they struggle. And in terms of pushing through, there's different ways to go about that, Joe. For me, and I think for you as well, we write it even though it kind of sucks just to get to the next part. Some people can write different scenes of different parts of the book, and that's them. That's their psychosis. My psychosis, I treat it like when you're taking an SAT or college board exam. If you don't know the answer, put something down and then go back to it. See. Abacadabra.
Yeah. A, B, C, and then and then I'll go back and figure it out. You're right. That's exactly how I kind of do it. I mean, for people out there that might be struggling with the process, what's something we can tell them about it? That is it lean on their passion? Is it stay with it? What would your advice be for somebody who's struggling with process and struggling to be motivated by it right now? Is it just wait until you can be motivated, or is there a way to get motivated?
I think that motivated. I mean, it's sort of like going to the gym, isn't it?
Right.
We all go. If we go to the gym, we're going to look better, feel better, live longer, and we get that high out of it, and it's great, and we're in shape, and we get to look at foxy guys and gals wearing their little unitards and stuff. But with all that being said, exercise, particularly as you get older, as you sort of absorb all sorts of responsibilities of your daily life, up to and including children, it becomes a situation where carving out that time to go to the gym gets harder. Carving out that time to say, okay, I can't get to the gym, but can I run around the block and burn a few calories that way? And there just aren't enough hours in the day. And when you start looking at all of the things you've got to do on Tuesday in order to get to Wednesday, you start eliminating certain things. Well, I can cut a corner here. We can microwave dinner. And I'm just not going to be able to go to the gym, I guess. And you start cutting those things out. And then the next thing you know, you feel sluggish and you don't look as good. And you also don't have that spank bank because you didn't get to go look at hot guys and gals, wearing unitards. I guess my point is you have to put your creativity on the calendar. You have to do it every single day. It doesn't mean that you have more or less passion for doing that. It's saying these are things I have to get done. And one of the things I need to get done is I need to take care of me. Whatever that means, I have to take care of me, because it's only if I'm good that I can accomplish all of these other things I got to do to get to Wednesday. And if you're a creator, then again, you're doing it because you have to do it. And so you need to make that time for yourself and force yourself to sit down and do it. And as JD said, you're stuck on something, you'll come back to it later on, but keep going. Just keep going.
Nice.
And I think also that a lot of times people get stuck because they're caught up in their fears of doing it wrong. And there's no such thing especially when you're writing the first draft. My first novel, I wrote the big scenes that I knew for sure I had. And then I went back in and stitched them together. And then I had a nightmare. And then I had to go and cut 50% of that novel and rewrite a huge portion of it. And that was the process that I needed to go through my first novel. My second novel, because I had 2 small children at the time, I plotted it out heavily. I will probably never write a book that way again, but that's what I needed to do so that I didn't have to do that massive restructuring later. I needed that to be my process at that particular point in time. So I'm sure that each one of my novels will probably be written via a completely different process, just because that is going to be what I need to do at that particular time. And there isn't anything wrong with that. I think that sometimes you kind of have to embrace where you are and, figure out how to get past that fear. I think that very often is sort of the most difficult part for a lot of people. Not everyone, but for a lot of people.
Yeah, and they get stuck on doing it the same way every time too, and it doesn't always come out. And like as you mentioned, it doesn't always. If you do it the same way, doesn't mean that your process, will produce the kind of thing that you were hoping it would produce. So, pivoting and changing is
Pivot.
It's helpful.
Going to Eric's analogy of exercise, I think that could be an interesting way of seeing it. You don't always have to do the hardest workout you have to do, but you should at least do some of your workout. Meaning, okay, so something's not flowing on your manuscript. Why not journal? Why not write poetry? Why not write something else that maybe it's something that'll just rattle your brain enough to help you relax so that stuff can flow. And in terms of Megan's comment, having a block can be because people are focusing on one method, and what worked this time has to work every single time. Not necessarily. And people think that creativity only stops at dialogue and plot points. And sometimes we have to get creative in terms of how we approach and are creative. Sometimes you have to write a sentence while doing a handstand. Why the hell not? Maybe that will work for someone. I do not recommend it. Please do not try that at home. I do not want to get sued because, the scruffy guy from Puerto Rico said to do his handstand and I broke my clavicle. No. But sometimes you gotta try stuff that's out there to and who knows, maybe you find a new method and then you can, have a soul patch and a little earring and then say, I am the master guru of this type of creativity. Who knows if you can make $1 million that way.
Nice. AJ, do you want to chime in on that?
I just think that sometimes I was just thinking that sometimes the creativity just comes to you, and sometimes you got to kind of like beat it a little bit. Because I was having a character just today that I was writing, and I was getting frustrated because it felt like all the words I had written up to that point were crap today, and it was a waste of 800 words or whatever. And my character was being a whiny little brat, and I just got tired of it. So I stuck her in front of the mirror in the bathroom and gave her a little existential crisis, and she got over it. And now I'm like 3,100 words ahead, as opposed to that 800 that I thought was crap. Now I've got 3,100 that actually might be useful. So sometimes I guess it is about adaptability and changing up what you do. Cause usually I do let the characters kind of do what they're going to do. And then sometimes they do get to be whiny little bitches, and you got to just say, no. That's not who you are. Stop it. Get over yourself and move so that we can get the story going.
Well, AJ, as speaking as another pantser, I think that we can all agree that in life we have encountered that person or persons who are, so I'm so stressed out because I have all of these, first world problems. And you look at them and you're just like, you have never had to deal with anything, have you? You really have never had to deal with anything. And I think that if we're going to call those people whiny little bitches, at least in the context of our narratives, that was the phrasing you used, yes? Okay, then I would say that an existential crisis in front of the mirror is a good thing, or just punish her. I think that, when we're creating, particularly for pantsing, we have this opportunity to go, this person they're getting on my nerves as the creator, because really, what is their issue here? They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're feeling. They haven't had to deal with, oh, wait a second, I am God in this universe. And I can send plagues, and I can send, can rain frogs and all of those things. So that's what I like to do. I like to sort of smack my characters around when they're getting on my nerves. And because I'm pantsing, I'm like, I don't know the solution to this. You're going to have to find your own fucking way out, but you got 3 more pages to do it until we get to Act 3. And let them sort of dig their way out. And as they're doing it, as I'm sitting there just sharpening my knife and also rubbing my hands together because it's entertaining, I'm now becoming creative and productive because I'm really invested in what I'm doing, which is, punishing someone. Fictional.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to put pressure on yourself. People, sometimes you have to know when to accelerate and when to take the foot off the gas, and people fear pressure, and they're like, no, I always have to be zen. I have to burn sage. And it's like, you don't always have to burn sage. You don't always have to be relaxed. Sometimes you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and say, you know what, I have to write this much in this amount of time. And sometimes that will get you to where you need to go. And again, just try different shit. Don't limit yourself.
I hate to go into the indie connection, but I have to put this up on the screen. You have to put your creativity. Yeah, that's Rebecca for you. Let's drop into the indie connection, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about this. And great indie connection this week. So I hope everybody goes out and finds these books if you're a fan of the one and only Mr. Stephen King.
Hey guys, C.O. Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. Today I'm going to be telling you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you are a fan of The Stand by Stephen King, because I thought we're in the middle of a pandemic, so why not? The first book I have for you is called Yesterday's Gone by Sean Platt and David Wright. They thought they were alone, but they were wrong. On October 15th, humanity went missing, leaving only a handful of scattered survivors behind. The world is now empty of friends, family, and neighbors. Among them, an 8-year-old child searches for his family, only to find a nightmare he never expected. A special agent turned enemy of the state survives a fiery plane crash with no way to reach his daughter. But is he who he says, or even thinks he is? A reporter will do anything to reconnect with his son, even if he has to wander the empty streets of Manhattan to find him, and even if those streets aren't really so empty. A mother and daughter are desperate to survive with their 2 remaining neighbors, on the run, both nowhere to go. A teenage boy who spent his life bullied, and who might be the only person in the world that's happy to see it gone. And a brilliantly brutal serial killer who will do anything he can to stay atop the food chain. Now these strangers must find the strength to survive in the new world, but they are not alone. In the absence of civilization, a new threat emerges. In the stillness, it waits and watches, preying on their weakness. Their only hope is to find more survivors, rise above the fear, and face the oncoming darkness. But can they unite before they too are lost? And can they all be trusted? The next book I have for you is called After the Ending by Lindsay Pogue and Lindsay Fairley. They may have survived the apocalypse, but the virus changed them. Grad student Danny O'Connor won't let a cross-country move end her closest friendship. But when a mysterious virus consumes the world and Danny herself falls violently ill, she fears she'll never see her loved ones again. After her fever finally breaks, she barely recognizes the devastated world around her. Everyone is dead. Danny is all alone. Or so she thinks. As a bartender, Zoe is used to dealing with hotheads and dirtbags, but nothing could have prepared her for the twisted thoughts of her fellow survivors. Her family is gone, and anyone left alive in the world is either sick, crazy, or changed, like her. As her newfound super senses gain strength, Zoe must learn to control them before she loses herself to the madness completely. Perilous terrain spans the distance between them, and deranged survivors lurk in dark corners everywhere. Can Danny and Zoe overcome deadly attacks and unseen dangers in order to find each other, or will they lose their way and their lives along the journey? The third book I have for you is called The Cleansing by Sam Cates. Apocalypse unleashed, swift and deadly, merciless. 7 billion people inhabit this planet in a blissful ignorance of imminent annihilation. Destruction comes, not from mentors or nuclear holocaust, but from a source no one even knows exists. The architects of doom have long moved among us, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the signal to trigger our extinction. A handful of survivors, traumatized, bewildered, must come to terms with the new reality, and quickly, for the cleansing is only the beginning. The fourth book I have for you is called Outbreak by Ryan Casey. A deadly virus, a society out of control. Who will survive the outbreak? It all happens without warning. People drop dead in the streets. Violence erupts. As the government desperately struggles to control the outbreak, survivors battle for supplies and shelter in a terrifying new world. Noah is in the city center when the chaos strikes. Stranded and surrounded by panic and hysteria, he has no choice but to battle back to his flat. But will he make it through a city that is rapidly losing control? Jasmine is a high-flying young professional, but everything changes when her boss drops dead before her, showing signs of a deadly new virus. In the midst of the drama, does she have what it takes to rescue her beloved dog and seek out shelter for the pair of them? And because I thought this book also fit well and I want to help as many indies as possible, we have 5 books this week. So the 5th book is called Spore by Kenny Soward and Mike KRAUS. America's food crops cover nearly 1 billion acres. In the race to produce as much as we could, something went wrong. 1 billion acres of food have been wiped off the map overnight. A mysterious illness somehow connected to America's agriculture collapse tears through the country and the world like a hot knife through butter, killing millions as it spreads. Pockets of survivors are forced to trek west, seeking shelter and food as they fight against the disease that lives in the air and soil around them. As death and destruction spread and the country collapses in upon itself, those left behind will be forced to work together to survive, lest they become consumed by the spores.
Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye.
All right, yeah. Everybody check out the Indie Connection. The great books. I know that right now, apocalyptic in the world kind of stuff may resonate a little too close to home right now, but good books nonetheless. And it's always great to have Sail Canada do that for us and support many more indies that y'all need to go and check out. So do just that. The links are there and you can go check everything out with that. That being said, I'm here again with my panel. We lost somebody. We lost Eric.
He went to play with Hobbs.
But the last thing I wanted to touch on real quickly, and then we'll take off, is there he is. All right.
Sorry, I got bumped off, disconnected for some reason.
No worries. You didn't miss anything. I haven't unveiled yet the last part I wanted to talk about, but I'm kind of curious from each of you, and giving your answer, why don't you tell everybody where they can check you out too on top of that? So kind of this is your like outro, but from each of you, where are you at motivationally wise right now? Are you optimistic? Are you hopeful? Are you desperate? I mean, where do you line up right now in this? And we'll just go since we went forward. I'll go backwards on this. So I'll start with Megan. Megan, you want to start us off, or do you need some time? If anybody else wants to go, are you good?
I'm good.
All right. So yeah. Sorry.
So At the present moment, I am sort of rebuilding momentum. I'm on a sort of daily regimen of getting edits done on my novel that's been sort of hanging out on the shelf for way too long. And so, yeah, I'm getting back into it, and I've got my notebook and I've got my schedule, and I'm feeling pretty good on the writing front. So, yeah, I feel like 2021 was not great or 2020 was not great for me as far as writing, and I'm feeling much better about 2021. Additionally, you can find me on Facebook as Megan Morgan, and on Instagram as MMMWrites, and on Twitter, which I think I tweet like once a year randomly, as M3Writes.
How about the podcast? Are we going to get some new episodes this year?
Yeah, I definitely need to record some more. I have a podcast called Cocktails and Cookbooks, which happens when it happens.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Myers, what do you think? Where are you at?
2020 sucked. I don't think any of us need to hammer that down any more than we already have. And I think that it's prudent to be cautiously optimistic about 2021. I prefer to just say I have absolutely no expectations. The only thing I can do is set expectations for myself. And that's why I am now on a daily writing regimen. I am working on screenplay that has been kind of a pet project of mine, that I have some really cool friends who are really interested in doing something with it. So again, cautious optimism. We're not expecting a goddamn thing. We'll see what happens with it. Meanwhile, my son and I, we are kind of shooting a movie together right now. It's hard to get film crews together, but it's really cool to be able to sort of redefine that creative process, as we've talked about. I'm not working with a big crew and dollies and steady cams and stuff. Instead, I'm shooting something with my 8-year-old son, and we're having fun with it. And that's an awesome and incredible thing. I'm getting back into the essays. If you are interested in checking me out, again, I write for Ain't It Cool News. I'm Eric Christopher Myers. Or you can find me as EKM on all of the social medias. I write for Ain't It Cool News, again, on the topics of franchise history and genre theory. If you're interested in seeing my films, you can take Mr. Hobbs's advice right there and go on Amazon, and you can find Roulette and Butterfly Kisses. They're available on Blu-ray and DVD, and they're also streaming for free if you have a membership. And please remember to leave me and everybody else here whose work you check out and go Indie Now 5-star reviews, like, share. That's how we get our work out there for new audiences. That's what influences the algorithms. And if you really want to see us become more creative and inspired with what we're trying to do, let us reach the intended audience that we are trying to reach.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. That's awesome.
Very end. Hold on. He needs to tip his computer screen up a little bit so he can show everyone that he redecorated a little bit and added some of his creative stuff in his life to the top of his movie shelf. Can you tip your computer screen? Yeah.
Awesome stuff. That's awesome and well deserved. Your films are amazing. So,
thank you.
Got to share the gold.
There are Star Wars soundtrack or like
laser discs
back in there too.
But I do want to say this is totally off topic, and I don't want to take any time away from AJ or JD. I just do want to say though, another topic that's worth covering at some point: awards and charting on bestseller lists. Does it really matter? Does it really matter? Does it really matter if you chart it on Amazon or USA Today or whatever? I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's cool. But what's cooler is when somebody in Iowa sends you a message on Facebook or whatever saying, I just saw your movie or I just read your book or blah, 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 blah. And I fucking loved it. That's great. yeah, awards are neat, and getting on bestseller. I've been on bestseller lists too. It's real neat. It's cool. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't mean anything. It's something to put on the cover of your work. It's finding your audience, which again is why I'm saying support all of us if you're watching this. Tell us how we can support you, and the way to do that is push that out there to other people. All you got to do is like, subscribe, share, leave the occasional review. It makes a huge difference.
Yes, awesome. All right, JD.
I am a proud unaward winner. I don't even know how to go about that. I see people that win certain awards, and I go like, "How do you do that?" And they're like, "We submitted." And I'm like, "When is it due?" And they go like, "I'm not sure." And I'm like, "Exactly, me either." And I have other stuff to work on. What was the original question? I forgot.
Where you at in motivation?
Motivation. Seeing that recap from last year kicked me in the nuts. Something. Mwah. Because I've been able to be productive in certain aspects, but beyond staying sane, I've learned to navigate some pretty curious waters. Because it's been curious, it's been weird, it's been different, and I've been able to navigate that. So having said that, and having done that, looking at what I have, I have other shiny objects that I'm jotting down ideas for, because I'm never going to be able to stop doing that, because that's me. But I am focusing on several things. A lot of people have asked me, when is more poetry coming out? Soon. When is more nonfiction coming out? Soon. When is more Spanish stuff coming out? Soon. When is book 3 of the Human Cycle going to be done? Soon. When I say soon, I don't mean soon as in ... I mean, wait for 2021, because my intention is to screw up your bookshelf plans. And that's where I'm at. My mindset this year is, I'm going to screw up your budget. I'm going to screw up your layouts. I will not be color coordinated if that's how you like your books laid out. I'm coming swinging, and I have a lot of stuff that I want to do and that I am doing, which is very different from, okay, let's do this so that I don't go insane. And it's a better mindset. And like Mr. EKM, I am cautiously optimistic, but more than that, I'm just trying to focus on the things that bring me joy, and writing always brings me joy. Where can you find me? Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, JD Estrada Writer. If you want my blog, jdestrada.blogspot.com, or for Writing Out Loud. I have 16 books out. Check them out. Leave a review. That always perks me up. Something nice.
Well, I will give you the award for best COVID hair, as it is beautiful and lovely. I'll craft something for you and send it to you. So you can put it right behind you on the shelf there.
Oh Lord. A Dundee. I want a Dundee. I want a best COVID hair Dundee.
Awesome. AJ?
I am pretty motivated right now. Because I've been so productive during this time when I haven't been able to do my day job, I want to get things done. I want to keep my momentum going, because that is keeping me going. You can find me on all the things at AJ Mullican, except on Facebook it's AJ Mullican Author, because AJ Mullican was taken. But yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Linktree, all the things. AJMullican.com is my website, and you can check out all the different things there. I got a bunch of little pages and tidbits and what have you up there. And yeah, leave reviews, because I do obsessively check those like every day to see if there's any new ones. And I get a little annoyed when there's like a new review and there's no words. It's like, what did you think? We like to know. We like to hear. We like to know that someone has read, watched, seen what we've done, and appreciated it. So let us know, because that really keeps us motivated, even more so than the productivity or anything else like that.
Nice. Well, I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Thank you so much for doing that and hanging out and talking like you talked. I mean, it was a great conversation.
Plug yourself.
I'm Joe Compton. Hi. There you go.
He has 2 books. He's the godfather of going
Right,
the shit.
right. I have 2 books out there, Amongst the Killing and We the Moral Majority. We the Moral Majority you get on threefuriouspress.com. Soon we're going to be repackaging Amongst the Killing, and it may or may not have an extra scene that I'm planning. But We the Moral Majority you can get right now too. I mean, you can get Amongst the Killing right now; it's still out there. But those are my books, and check us out. Go Indie Now. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, we would love for you to join our family and do that. Like, share, comment, all those wonderful things that you all do so well for us, and we really appreciate it. And Facebook.com/GoIndieNow and Twitch TV/GoIndieNow, all those wonderful things. So thank you so much for being here, because it's always time to go indie now. And with that, we'll say goodbye and see you guys all next week. We have another great shows ahead. So another